the midnight show today. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Journey vlog. And it is past midnight. It is 2 a.m. right now on the 7th of July. I just finished work a few hours ago, finishing up for today, and I was in so much momentum that just wanted to shoot a video because I saw my microphone and I was up. It's funny because the whole day I was kind of dreading work for some reason. I just wasn't in the mood to do work. But later on, um, I just went by it chunk by chunk, and then eventually, by 2 a.m., I felt like I can't sleep right now. I'm too up. I'm too like, um, so many ideas bursting my head, and I was like, man, I can either try and go to sleep, or I can just ride off the rest of this momentum and bring it and just shoot something so that I can just sum up the rest of what happened today and exude it while I'm in this, you know, uppity state. At least this way, maybe this will help me sleep. Who knows? Um, just venting out all the stimulus of the long day and trying to transmute that into ideas that we can learn from, kind of like a field report for what happened today. So I was working on a lot of content, and I was also trading cryptocurrency for the day because I saw a lot of movement. Um, for this coin I've been looking at past few days, it's called Synthetics token. It's actually made me quite a bit of money by just holding. I didn't do anything really. I kept trading a bunch of coins. I found it by accident. I jumped on it. It's been so good right now. And then I sold for a bit because I wasn't too sure what was going on. So now I'm just like chilling, and it was kind of distracting me from work. So what was interesting today was I was had a grudge in the momentum, but then I realized that if I just sat down for a while, if I could get in 15 minutes in, I would suddenly not feel too stressed about continuing. It's almost like, again, I've talked about this before. It's called state management. Your body just wants to maintain the state that it's in, and that can get tricky when you're trying to do something that requires creative work. So when you're doing something like marketing, and then you have to constantly reevaluate your systems, see what you can do better, and then do the manual tasks that actually get um, everything in place. There's not like this system of tasks that you follow. It's more like, what are you going to do today so that you can maximize tomorrow. And a lot of it involves like a lot of lateral thinking, a lot of out of the box, new angles, new vocabularies to use. And sometimes it can just feel like a grudge. And I'm pretty sure if a lot of writers deal with this. It's not writer's block, but I'm pretty sure that the hardest thing I've heard writers say is that it's to sit down and write. But then once they start writing, it's really hard for them to get back. Or rather, when they're in the zone, they'll stay in there for an hour, and then maybe they'll take a 2 minute break where they just don't move, but just kind of stop for a second, draw state within. And I think that's one thing I realized today was that not the amount of work or just how to grind, but I wouldn't even say a grind today. I didn't really do that much work. I did spend most of the day doing what I wanted, and then I sat down and finished my task for the day later on in the night. But what was interesting was how I had to change my state and all the subtleties that kind of sneak up on you when you know that it's something you want to do. It's something that's actually good for you. And most of me not wanting to sit down and work was mainly the feeling of wanting to do something else. I wanted more like dopamine spikes, and I was thinking about playing the video game, and then I had I played it for a bit. I showed my friend, and then I just turned it off for 5 minutes. I didn't really play, but I realized that I was seeking little tiny stimuluses so that I could just feel better. And I wasn't even in a bad state. I just felt kind of just like um it's like my default wasn't at acceptance. I felt kind of edgy. And it's interesting because I did exercise in the morning, so it didn't work. It didn't really calm me down as much. But later on, I just kept letting go and kind of imagining as if my muscles were tight, and I just kind of relaxed myself. I would take a second to draw state from within rather than trying to say I'll feel better when work is done, or after I play the game I'll be ready to work. Like I kind of, it's really subtle. It's not like a thought process, but it's more just going in your body and trying to feel good already in your body by just, even if it meant just having to sit down there. Like the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're working, it doesn't matter whether you're playing a video game or doing chores. It's just the fact that you can feel, draw state from within despite the external circumstance of what's going on around you. And if you're bored, it's like, how do you feel good by default? Or, and that, I think that comes from like acceptance. When you can just accept the situation you're in, if your baseline is always acceptance, you'll always be like a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 on average, which is great. And no matter what your circumstances be, because you're not in resistance to what's actually happening in front of you. Now, um if like you're uh constantly trying to get out of where you are, then it puts you in a frame where you're saying like, I'll feel good when, and then that's like a never ending cycle. But drawing back to one of the main things I learned today is, the past few days I've been working a lot, and I've been kind of having to multitask a lot of things at once. And it kind of like, on one point I was super focused, I had super tunnel vision, and I was handling what I was doing, and I just had to like put a lot of other things on the side that I would typically have to pay attention to. um and it wasn't conscious, it was just more like that. I got into such a tunnel vision. It's almost like you're playing a video game, and then if someone comes and tries and talk to you, you you're kind of like, huh, you kind of just like too entranced, right? It's not conscious, but it felt that I could only operate on two or three things during those few weeks and maximize those two things and get them out the way, that I started to rationalize that anything else around that could wait. And oh, I thought that that was actually helping me. But what I realized in the past 2 days is that by actually just taking a minute to stop and smell the roses, even if it's for 2 minutes. Like I'd work an hour, I'd take 2 minutes off, I'd look out the balcony, maybe I'll just go do something regenerative. And it doesn't have to be like, feel good. It could just be simply just, doing breathing or taking a cold shower or like, um, I mean, not even just like just, doing something that's just regenerative, like uh, even a nap, even uh, like watching something that's not so stressful, like comedy or chilling with somebody, that, and then coming back to work right off of that and riding that momentum, instead of like having to tire yourself out by working so hard that you're continuously like neglecting these regenerative things that you think are going to slow you down, but actually can. Because when you're working and you're drawing state within, you start to build momentum, because now you're getting high off the work. And that comes back to what I said about the dopamine hits. Was I was looking, my brain was just looking for dopamine hits, whatever that meant, whether a cup of coffee or a video game or making sale. That's why I was on cryptocurrency, because there was movement, I was making money, it was feeling good. The reds and the greens, it's all like spikes, spikes, spikes. And I, talking to customers from my other service, marketing service, all of that. You, at some point, like I struggled to understand why it was so hard to start in the beginning, but then when I get into it, I'm in a flow, and it takes like typically 15 to 20 minutes before I hit a flow, and then it rides it for an hour and a half, and then I'll take a break, draw more state from within, do something regenerative, come back in a few minutes, do that again, and then take maybe a longer break, exercise, treat myself. Like, again, keeping that loving yourself from within and feeling good by doing things that remind you of that. Because you got to remember, like, low vibration is there by default and it's just always there. Whereas these like higher vibration things, it's stuff you need to like do to bring up. And that doesn't mean like just taking action. It could just come from uh drawing your breath in and just taking a moment to like soak it in and realize how good it is, and how for just being alive. And it's little stuff like that I realized actually help you ride off your momentum, and to continuously like reaching 2 a.m. and still wanting to just just be like, hey, what's up, nation? This is the Goober Studios. Like, I don't sound tired to you right now, and it's because I'm not. Like I told you, I couldn't sleep because I was just writing off this and I wanted to do something. And now I'm actually starting to feel a little calm because there's no more mental stimulus, and now it's just coming out because of I've had to move and talk and echo my body and flesh out these ideas that it's actually bringing a little peace to my head right now. It's bringing me some comfort to that. It's shutting off the thinking mind and it's letting me just flow off of using my release muscles, and it's crazy. And I just feel like holding this microphone right now. I'm just holding it. I'm looking at my computer, and it's funny because now I'm just online, and anyone online can see this. It's like a global portal. I'm just speaking into the global frequency. What's up, everybody? Da da da. This is the Goober Studios. How's it going? And it's cool, man. And some you just I'm just you're just trying to like share that energy. It's like you're gaining momentum from the work, and the more momentum you get, the the more effective your like actions become, and you again you draw more within, and then you get more present to the moment, and that lets you come back with even more uh action towards what you were doing. And because now you've dialed into that, and you're in momentum, and you've surrounded yourself with dopamine spikes that are coming from these from drawing state within, and from using that state to take massive action, and you're correlating massive action and drawing state within as positive dopamine spikes, you're going to start to maximize that in your life. You're going to start looking for more stuff where you can draw state within. You're going to be gravitated towards more activities that bring you those same feelings. And you're going to contextualize your brain to map out towards those things because it knows it's good for you. And it's funny enough, what happens is that the more you get, the more it becomes easier to delve into those situations. But the same thing happens in a negative spiral, which is why it's important to just make acceptance our default, so that whenever whatever situation we're in, we can continuously draw stay within and be operate at our most effective mind productivity, and just tap into like untold genius. Because I mean, that's ultimately what you're about. And like, that's where creativity comes from. That's where dreams come from, when you're asleep and you're in a total state of relaxation and you're building worlds and realities without even having to think about them. So, tapping into that part of your subconscious by knowing there's a part of you that's just like untamed and it's just there all the time, by having to shut off your prefrontal cortex from your beta waves and entering into your alpha waves, which is reduced brain frequencies because you're in a more motored state. It's again, takes so much action, shuts off the thinking mind. It's a real thing. Running shuts off your thinking mind. Doing exercise, getting up on stage, having to deal with so much external stimulus that your thinking mind has to shut off, and then you just go into operational mode. And that's actually a state of survival that it can be summoned through fear. It can be summoned through again, just like laughing and joking with everybody, or just talking to random people. And ultimately what you're doing is shutting off that social conditioning you've been thrown into, and realizing that your DNA is not really up to help you out. Like by default, like low vibration is always there by default, and you have to homeostasis yourself to like tap in to higher a higher palette. And if you really want to dig into this, there's a guy called Owen Cook from Real Social Dynamics who elaborates this on such a scale I could never explain to you. It's it's amazing. Check him out. Uh, brings out a ton of value, and I'm gonna want to end it on that. I hope this made sense to you. I did this as best as I can. I want to wake up tomorrow and I want to start the day with the same kind of energy. I want to ride off this momentum. I noted down today what were the things that made me reach to this state, and I'm going to capitalize on this so that we'll see how much we can seed before we harvest. This is Goober Studios checking out at 3 a.m. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. Good night, everybody. and I'll check you on the next one. And with that, I'm gonna call it a wrap. But I can't find my button. Oh yeah, peace out.